So in this tutorial, we are going to review how to find the surface area and volume of various three-dimensional shapes. And we're going to begin with a rectangular prism. And we're going to start with volume. So the volume formula is base times height times depth. And then we're just going to substitute in numbers. So the base is 12, the height is 4, and the depth is 3. And then we're going to get our final answer of 144 centimeters cubed. Don't forget that the units for volume are cubed. And so for surface area, you're going to find that the formula for a rectangular prism is simply to find the area of all the sides and add them together. So it's just the sum of all areas. So that means we need to break this shape down into all of the different kinds of shapes we see. So for example, there is a rectangle right here, and there are 2 of those rectangles. So we can do 4 times 3 times 2. The next rectangle that we could see is right here, and that also repeats 2 times. So that'll be 12 times 3 times 2. Now, a little thing that you have to be careful of is sometimes if there's word problems of the context of what it's asking you. So for example, if I had said that this was a fish tank, and I said find the surface area or find the amount of glass needed, you might realize that there is no top to a fish tank. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to put the water in. So for this one, for example, you wouldn't have 2 of those sides, you would only have 1. So sometimes you're going to have to adjust what you're doing based on the different sides that you have. The last side that we're going to look at is this blue one here, or the front of the prism, which will be 12 times 4. And again, there are 2 of those, a front and a back. So now what we're going to do is just find each of those areas. Oops, that's not writing. Let me just check. So that's 12 times 3 times 2, and then 96. Oops, that one should be blue. 96, I believe. And if we add those all together, we get 192. And for surface area, our units are squared. So let's move on to a triangular prism. So again, let's write down the formula for volume, which is base times height times depth. Oh, there, my pen was just not working there for a second, and divide by 2. So in this case, the base refers to the base of the triangle, the height refers to the height of the triangle, and then the depth is how far back the prism goes, and we divide that by 2, and we end up with 60 centimeters cubed. Now for surface area, again, it's going to be the sum of all areas. And we also have to think about, with triangular prism, we have triangles and we have rectangles. And the number of, there's always 3 rectangles, but sometimes those rectangles are actually identical. If you had a scalene triangle, you will have 2 triangles and then 3 different rectangles. If you happen to have an isosceles triangle like you do here, you will have the 2 triangles and then 2 rectangles that are the same, and then 1 rectangle that is different. And if it was an equilateral triangle, you would have all 3 rectangles would be identical to one another. So just something to keep in mind. So for the surface area, we'll first look at the triangle. So that'll be the base of the triangle times the height of the triangle divided by 2, and then there are 2 of these. So some of you might ask, do I really need to divide by 2 and then multiply by 2? The answer is no. You could just have that and cancel out and go just 5 times 4. Then we're going to look at the rectangle. So because this is isosceles, we actually have this rectangle here and the one on the side right there. So the one on the left side and the one on the right side to kind of make it look like a tent. Those 2 rectangles are actually exactly the same. So the base of that rectangle is 6, and the height of the rectangle, so be careful, it's not the height of the triangle, the height of the rectangle is 4.5. and there are 2 of those. Then finally, we have the bottom rectangle, which in this case will be 5 by 6, and there is only 1 of those. And bear with me, my pen is not working right now. I'm going to have to use my finger for a second. So now we just figure out what all of those answers are. My pen is still not working, so this is probably not going to look the greatest, but I'll try my best with my finger. That's going to be 54. And then that one's going to be 30. And when we add those all up, we're going to get 104. And again, it will be centimeters squared. So that is surface area, volume of a triangular prism. The last one that we're going to look at is a cylinder. So volume of a cylinder is pi r squared times height. And I apologize, that's an r. Oh, there, my pen might be working again. There we go. Pi r squared times height. We're going to use the pi button. And the radius, be careful here, this gives us the diameter. So the radius will be 6, half of the diameter. And the height will be 18. And then we can just punch that into our calculator using the pi button and rounding to 1 decimal place. So we're going to get 2035.8. And again, we'll do centimeters cubed. Surface area is 2 pi r squared. 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. This part here, the 2 pi r squared, represents the 2 circles, and the 2 pi r h represents the middle part of the cylinder. So again, depending on the type of question you get, like if you got a question that asked about the amount of material to make a drinking cup, then there might not be a circle on top, and so there might not be 2 pi r squared, there might be 1 pi r squared. So it just depends on the question. So again, what we're going to do right now is just substitute in. So again, our radius is 6. And in our work step here, we're going to go to more decimal places than we need to go, so that when we round our final answer, it's more accurate. So we always go to at least 1 decimal place more than what it asks for. So we'll go to 2 decimal places, and then we'll do that for the next one as well. So that'll be 678. And we're going to round those, we're going to add those 2 answers together, and then we will round to 1 decimal place. So our work always goes to 1 more than we need to go, and that'll be centimeters squared. My pen is not working again, so I will try with my finger. There, centimeters squared. That's how you find the surface area and volume of a cylinder.